Usually by this time at a conference, I am half asleep, so I am impressed that you're still going. This is good, this is good. I work for the Weather Channel app. Previously, I worked for the Weather Channel itself. I've been on Good Morning America, all kinds of places, but the app is where it's at because we have 1.5 billion video views a year. That's just on phones, and that's just in the US. That doesn't include any of our online traffic on weather.com, things like that. When I say a video, I mean a forecast video. I'm the one making those. Hello. So that's just in the United States. Turns out people like weather. I mean, 9 out of 10 people couldn't start a conversation without it, right? We need it. It impacts all of us. That is me, by the way, in that photo during Hurricane Matthew on the beach. Not advisable, but as a meteorologist, I needed it. So why is a meteorologist at the largest Java developer conference in the US? Like, this is kind of weird, right? Does this make sense to anyone? Would it also, well, maybe I'm giving you your forecast. Sunny, gorgeous day in Atlanta, perfect golf weather, nice early spring, the groundhog was right. You've all got it. May it also perplex you to know that the Weather Channel app is owned by the weather company, an IBM business. IBM? What does IBM want with the weather? I'm going to answer all of that for you, hopefully. But first, I have a request. Like many developer teams, we at IBM, we're agile, so we want feedback. You have to stop by our booth. You can tell them that you hated me, that you love me, whichever is fine. I'm good with all of that, but we would really like to hear from you. So please just come by the IBM booth, and that's the deal I'm making with you now, and I'll tell you why IBM likes weather. Make sense? Deal. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. IBM, developers, and weather, how does it all go together? Maybe this video will start to give you a little bit of a clue of the direction we're going.
Believe it or not, this thing is actually stationary. It's not moving.
The soil was eroded away. We missed the crops entirely.
This year in the United States alone, there have been $19 billion plus severe weather events. Climate change is really the driver behind the massive financial increase of the impacts.
We need higher resolution. We need more observations. Underlying all of that is the need for more computational horsepower.
Right now, whenever we have computer models that we look at, it may be on a massive grid, 12 kilometers. You have these huge spaces between data points that you're not getting any information on. But with GRAF, you're taking that down to 3 kilometers. So you're not missing the giant thunderstorms that might be forming underneath here. You're not missing the formation point of the hurricane that might be developing under there or the typhoon. You're getting this more closely knit look at what our atmosphere is doing and what it might do in the future.
In order to do that, you have to know what's happening everywhere in the atmosphere right now. Supercomputing and AI have had a profound impact on our ability to map the atmosphere and predict the future.
Being on IBM Cloud enables us to scale very quickly. It's reliable, it's resilient.
We can leverage a combination of different observations. Observations from the ground, observations in the air from aircraft, and satellite observations. GRAF is going to bring new capabilities to forecasting that we haven't seen before.
Companies' operations can be really impacted. Do they have enough materials for their customers and for their operations? Do they have crews out working that they need to keep safe? We have clients in aviation. Do they need to delay flights? Do they need to reroute flights to other areas?
If we know we're going to be landing during thunderstorms in Beijing, we can provide a smoother ride for our customers.
We're really targeting regions across the globe that traditionally we've spent less time focused on. So places like Delhi, India, for instance, Mexico City, places like South America and Brazil.
And so the farmer in Kenya will have just as great of a forecast as the farmer in Kansas.
How do we democratize weather? How do we bring good weather forecasts to people throughout the world?
Getting the right information in the hands of the people is the first step.
Okay. So we're starting to figure out where IBM comes into all this weather business. And personally, because my job is to forecast these events and communicate them in a way that hopefully saves lives, IBM GRAF is I've been very excited about it for a long time. I'll put it that way. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about how weather is big business. So how many millions of dollars would you say is lost to a snowstorm in sales? Any guesses? Let's just say, let's say Boston. Close. You can lose $500 million, $500 million, $500 million in a single snowstorm just because of sales. But if we're talking Atlanta, even having flurries in the forecast, if you guys got your black ice warning on your Weather Channel app, by the way, that you might have gotten for this area, you might have had an alert pop up for overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, everything shuts down. I would not be surprised if schools have a late start tomorrow, that when we see stores shut down, restaurants will cancel reservations. I'm not calling that for tomorrow, by the way. Keep all of your plans. This is just an example. That's a lot more money lost. But it also leads to a spike in sales. Weather impacts when we buy our milk and our bread in the event of a storm. It impacts when we buy our coats. It impacts whenever we buy just about everything, including snow tires or perhaps your hurricane preparedness kit. So we really have big business whenever it comes to weather, but we also have a lot of costs involved with it. Natural disasters are increasing. It's the data, it's the facts. A couple of reasons why. Climate change and the fact that we're not building smart in a number of places around the world. And what that has resulted in is $1.5 trillion in economic impact from 2003 to 2017. That doesn't even include the last couple of years. We have seen this huge growth in the United States alone on billion-dollar disasters. Now, this is adjusted for inflation, and whenever you look at these numbers, when you look at this graph, and you see just this huge rise in how much we're spending on disasters, $119 billion plus disasters in the US happened in the 2010s, and it added up to $800 billion. It's wild. That's how much we're spending in a decade, and that's only going up. So huge economic impact from what we see with disasters. We also have a lot of really exciting innovation happening. We already got a little preview of that, but we have some other stuff, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But weather is also really big tech, not just big business. It is on the cutting edge of our computational capabilities. We are right there with it. And a lot of that is in our pockets. What do people use their smartphones for the most frequently? Guess? Texting? I'm sorry. Memes? I mean, it's a good guess. Checking the time, okay. These are all checking the weather, social media. Yes, obviously, I mean, as a meteorologist, one of those was a little obvious. Taking pictures, yes, taking pictures is huge, as well as social media and shopping. But if you're talking about frequency, right after that, it's the weather. And the Weather Channel app has actually been downloaded over 150 million times worldwide. That does not include any reinstalls or anything like that. I work for a really big company. We're on a lot of your phones right now. This weather data, it's also about, it's context data. And it's making not just our app and our forecasting abilities more precise, but it's making all kinds of apps and all kinds of software more precise and more accurate. Weather is data. It really helps us infuse everything with that data to have better outcomes. If you think about it, you probably checked your weather today. I mean, you may have just looked out the window. How many people checked their weather today? Yeah, we need it to get by, especially whenever we're walking back and forth trying to find food at a conference. But we also use the weather company data for fuel, for airplanes, to determine how we can optimize the use of that fuel. We use it to find smoother rides. In fact, your flight here to Atlanta most likely used the Weather Channel data to help you find a smoother flight. I take no credit if it was not, because there's a good chance it wasn't. It's vital for agriculture. We need weather data for stocking store shelves, like I already mentioned. We need it for determining our energy needs. What kind of demand are we going to see on the grid? Not to mention insurance and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. We need weather for just about everything. And the weather company has the largest private collection of weather data in the world. That's a lot. In the world? The most? It doesn't just help businesses. We're helping a father keep tabs on a daughter who is on their way home from school and there might be a severe weather alert. We're helping a utility company plan where there might be outages so that they can get people back in power as soon as possible. When you don't have power, you don't have a way to keep your refrigerator cool. You don't have a way to use air conditioning or heat. And for compromised populations, meaning anyone who has any health concerns or depends on oxygen or just electricity in general, power means life. You have to have that. So it is being used in a number of ways, and you're starting to see why IBM might be interested in all this data and all this weather. We do have a couple of APIs that are offered through the IBM Cloud that are great for the weather company. One of them is Currents on Demand, and it is one of the highest resolution weather observation networks that is available. We have 275,000 individual stations, in addition to satellites, radar, all the traditional sources. We also have Forecasts on Demand, and that basically puts all this computational power and intelligence and the work of over 200 meteorologists within the company right there in this API. It includes all those OBS, radar, satellite, et cetera as well. And we are also going to have a self-registration portal for Call for Code 2020. And if you're wondering what that is, that's a tease in the news business. I'll tell you in just a second. Weather is also really big tech. That video that you just saw, I'm coming back around to it. That is IBM GRAF, the global high-resolution atmospheric forecasting system. This thing really is revolutionizing the way that we forecast. To me, one of the biggest benefits of this is it is a global model. It includes the entire globe. Forecast, it's a numerical weather prediction system that goes out 15 hours. And the benefit of having around the globe is something that in the United States, we've benefited from for years. We have this technology, but not everyone does. And as developers, I want to break down why this is such a big deal. Imagine you had a Nintendo Entertainment System. That's the resolution that you were working at for your weather data, like an 8-bit. IBM GRAF is more like N64, 64-bit. This is a huge difference whenever it comes to resolution. Is it the best? No, there's still a lot of room for growth, but that is a huge difference. And personally, I'm of the N64 era, I'm not gonna lie, and I was more of a golden eye, golden girl. Well on my way to becoming one of those. I'm more of a golden eye than a Zelda fan, but I digress. Check out what we have with GRAF. You can see the difference in resolution with this model. This precision helps us forecast so much better. We have a faster refresh rate. We're taking that grid down from a 12-kilometer square to a 3-kilometer square. Can you imagine how much data is missed? How many thunderstorm updrafts, how many tropical cyclone formation points are missed in a 144 square kilometer box? Now that's down to a 9-kilometer box, not just for the US, but for everywhere around the world. This democratizes weather data. In India, where the monsoon kills so many every year, we can have the same quality forecast, the same precision to get people out of harm's way as early as possible. In Bangladesh, where more people die than anywhere else in the world from weather events, we now have the ability to have an improved forecast to save lives. And while I would love to give full credit to the meteorologists, and let me tell you what, IBM GRAF was developed by meteorologists. It is the technology, it is the data, it is the developer that has made this a reality. And I can only imagine where we're gonna go from here. So, I wanna tell you a little bit about what's under the hood of this, because this is the first global forecast system that uses GPUs. It's the first, and not just a few, 300 GPUs on 90 IBM servers. So this thing packs a bit of a punch. It helps it run 5 to 6 times faster than the traditional weather model. Data assimilates every hour rather than every 6 hours. That's traditionally your forecast that you're getting for the most part on a daily basis is assimilating every 6 hours. This is every hour, and it can time it out down to the 5-minute increment out to 15 hours. It's incredible. We have millions of data points, not just radars and satellites, but with permission on your phone. And at some point, on planes with sensors. So this thing has millions upon millions upon millions of pieces of data that are going into it. So going back to our earlier video game example, we've come a long way. This is a great change in resolution, as you can see in these images. But where do we go from here? I mean, we're not even to PS3, PS4, PS4 Plus resolution here. If we get down to that level, perhaps the chaos of the weather becomes a lot less so. And we save not only big business and a lot of money and a lot of time, but we save a lot of lives as well. Weather and the solutions can also make us all heroes. So as a meteorologist, I can only do so much. The accuracy of my forecast depends on what goes into it. It depends on the information I have. IBM GRAF is helping with that. That is improving the forecast. Maybe we can help save lives. But when that disaster comes, I'm once again not able to help after the fact. And that is where coders are coming to the rescue as well. Developers absolutely can make a difference in saving lives through Call for Code. So what is Call for Code? I've been thrilled to be involved with this since 2018, the first year of the challenge, and it is a call, a challenge around the world, an initiative for developers to provide solutions to help mitigate the impacts of natural disasters. Coming up with solutions to save lives. When people are at their most vulnerable and their most desperate, IBM is a founding partner of this. That's how I got involved. I love this initiative because so often I do the forecast or I'm standing in the midst of the disaster, and where can I help from there? And that's where developers are coming in. So IBM committed $30 million over 5 years to Call for Code. We've had 2 years. The winner gets this, $200,000. Sound like an okay deal? Not bad. But what if I told you it's not just code that sits on a dusty hard drive somewhere amongst all of your other dusty hard drives that you have, but it becomes a reality? Through Code and Response, IBM creates this technology. It is a reality. It's not living somewhere on a hard drive, it's living in real life. And I was lucky because I got to help judge the internal IBM awards, but anyone can participate in Call for Code. And the judges aren't so bad. I mean, former President Bill Clinton, Mami Mizutori from the UN, Jim Zemlin from the Linux Foundation, some heavy hitters. This is a big, big deal. And I want to tell you a little bit about the winners. Maybe you'll start brewing a solution because it's coming soon this year's. 2018, 156 nations participated, over 100,000 developers, and Project OWL won. Those are the 4 gentlemen you see here. They did not know each other before this competition started. They pulled their strengths together, met online, and created a product to save lives after a disaster. I have been to, very sadly, countless disaster areas, and one of the scariest things is when people need help and there is no cell phone service at all. One of the first things to go down in a disaster are cell towers. How do you get the person that is injured and bleeding help if you can't even place a call? I have had a satellite truck and still not been able to get word out. They came up with a solution for this. Their solution, it's really cool. Basically, it's a portable IoT Wi-Fi device called a duck. The littlest of the ducks are duck links. And what they do is they create a mesh network for when you have cell phone service down, you create something where you can connect to one another. It pulls up a screen whenever you connect to the Wi-Fi, and it asks you things like, do you need help? Are you injured? What's your name? Do you need water? Do you need food? Do you need us to tell someone that you're okay? Think about all the loved ones wanting to find out if their person that they know is in the disaster is okay. This helps solve that. That then is linked up to the mama duck, and then via drone technology, that goes to the papa duck, and then it goes to first responders, and that gets in their hands and makes rescue a lot faster. And this is, to me, huge. If you didn't have to worry about cell phones going down, this is a massive solution, and they actually have already been deploying it. They're testing in Puerto Rico. After Maria, we saw, I don't know if you remember, countless images of people standing with their phones next to cell phone towers, trying to get any signal so they could let their loved ones elsewhere know that they were safe. They've been testing there, had tremendous success, and they even added a member to their team from another Call for Code entry to add the drone component. And Pedro was actually from Puerto Rico, and his family was there during Hurricane Maria. And so it's just been this incredible, I've loved seeing this kind of over the last 2 years really grow and take place. 2019's winner was also something that hit home for me. My father is a now retired firefighter and a first responder. He responded to natural disasters, but he also would go and fight the wildfires in California or different things. Prometeo, the team from Spain, created a device to monitor those who are trying to save us. Think about the last year in Australia with the bushfires and the men and the women on the front lines. What are they breathing in? What are they being exposed to chemically when they're fighting these fires? Prometeo, they came up with a solution to monitor that health, and they are working on deploying this. The IBM Corporate Service Corps is getting this going. So in the next couple of months, we should see deployment. They've already done a successful test. And this device, like you see the firefighter wearing in this photo, not only will tell you the real-time health conditions for these firefighters, but also long-term, to keep track of it, to see, okay, we have an issue down the road. Healthcare providers can look at that and tie it back to what may have happened several years ago. So a tremendous, tremendous solution there as well. Now we're on to 2020, third year of Call for Code, and I have the honor of letting you know that on February 26th, next Wednesday, you can find out this year's theme, and you can get everything going, see how you can answer the call. You just go to ibm.biz/call-for-code. I'm really excited because this is, I think, the first time we're announcing this date. And hopefully a lot of folks in this room maybe have some ideas going on disasters that they've seen or their loved ones have been in, and they have wished that there was a solution for. So, have I given a little more clarity as to why a meteorologist might be at a Java developer conference? Okay, all right. Okay, but I do have to remind you, come by the IBM booth. We really want your feedback. And I've been told that I need to go ahead and wrap because there's free beer after this that everybody's excited to go to. But if you ever have any questions, please reach out, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.